Revealed, young black boy's incredible claim in first class transforms heated accusation heart. Jamal pressed his nose against the glass window of the airport terminal, watching the world move in a blur of people and bags. Every hurried stride echoed the weight of his family's struggles. The metallic smell of the tarmac mixed with the excitement of the bustling illusion that everything was possible, even for a boy like him. His mom, despite the shackles of illness pulling her down, smiled at him with fierce determination. This trip was not just a journey to a small southern town, it was a glimmer of hope, a rare adventure. As they boarded the plane, Jamal felt the plushness of first class wrap around him like a warm hug. He looked around, eyes wide. Wasn't he that a cashmere sweater on that man? Or the glint of diamond earrings on the woman across the aisle? His heart raced with pride but also anxiety. Was he out of place here? The tension in his chest tightened when a businessman shot him a glare. "Excuse me," the man barked. "You're in my seat." Jamal stood frozen, his heart pounded like a drum in his chest. The whispers trailed through the cabin like storm clouds waiting to burst. Where did this boy come from? The accusations dripped with condescension. "I saw him walk on. Some kids think they can just take what isn't theirs," someone scoffed. The room felt suffocating. Summoning all the courage a 12-year-old could muster, Jamal took a deep breath. He peered at his mom, her weary eyes filled with apprehension but also a glimmer of faith. He opened his mouth, heart hammering. "This is my seat," he said, voice trembling yet determined. "My mom worked so hard for us to be here." The tension thickened, and it was as if time had paused. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." The businessman's face turned a shade of crimson. "You think you belong here?" he exploded, unleashing a torrent of judgment that pulsed through the cabin like a firestorm. Jamal's palms were sweaty, he could feel the weight of everyone's eyes upon him. Yet, miraculously, something shifted within him. "My dad, a community leader, used to say that hard work defines us, not how we dress. That nobody is beneath anyone." At that moment, the flight attendant arrived, confusion painted on her face until she sensed the tension in the air thick enough to cut. Just as the altercation simmered like scalding water, the businessman's teenage daughter, seated nearby, interrupted. "Wait." Her voice broke through the fog of bias. "Listen to him." Her eyes gleamed, a reflection of Jamal's raw spirit. There was an unmistakable unity in her voice, planting seeds of reflection among everyone. Could understanding grow where judgment once thrived? Jamal stood there, heart racing, hope igniting in his chest. As glances turned from disapproval to contemplation, the air was ripe with unspoken questions. Would this moment transform their hearts, or would it slip away, leaving the scars of prejudice unhealed? The answer lingered, teetering on the edge of possibility, just waiting for the next chapter to unfold. The flight attendant took a step forward, raising an eyebrow at the businessman. "Sir, I think there's been a misunderstanding," she said, her voice steady yet kind. She glanced at Jamal, and for a fleeting moment, he felt the weight of encouragement in her eyes. A ticket's a ticket. Everyone deserves respect, no matter where they sit. Jamal smiled nervously, feeling a rush of gratitude. He could see the wheels turning in the heads of the other passengers, their judgment beginning to crack like fragile glass. Perhaps they were reconsidering before they even realized it. The businessman, still furious but slightly deflated, crossed his arms. "This is unacceptable. We pay premium prices for a reason." His words were laced with indignation, but Jamal sensed a crack in his armor. Jamal's heart raced, but he wouldn't back down. "It doesn't matter how much money you have. Kindness is free. He was shocked by his own bravery. Those words felt like a shield against the judgment that had felt so suffocating moments before. The businessman's daughter turned in her seat, her gaze fierce. "Dad, you always said to respect others. This is a chance to show it." Her conviction sent a ripple of awareness through the cabin. The passengers exchanged glances, their expressions shifting from hostile to pensive. Jamal's mom leaned forward, her voice soft but firm. "We're just a family trying to find a little joy. We've worked hard to be here, just like everyone else. I want my son to understand how to stand tall in this world." The flight attendant nodded, dusting off a lingering tension. "Well, I suggest we let this boy sit here." She gestured to the seat beside Jamal, a warm smile gracing her lips. "Would that be all right?" Jamal held his breath, a mix of fear and hope swirling inside him. The businessman's face twisted, a battle waging within him. Finally, he huffed out a frustrated sigh. "Fine. But this isn't over." As Jamal settled into his seat, the chatter in the cabin slowly resumed. Couples whispered, and families exchanged glances, clearly intrigued. The businessman's daughter shot Jamal an encouraging smile, and he couldn't help but grin back. It sparked a connection, if only for a moment. The plane began to taxi down the runway, and Jamal gazed out the window again, heart swelling. He hadn't just claimed a seat, he had claimed his voice. He thought of his dad, of everything they had gone through, and the lessons learned in their small community. That moment bloomed with possibility. Jamal felt his mom rest a gentle hand on his shoulder. "I'm proud of you, my love," she whispered, her voice warm like sunshine. The plane lifted off, and as they rose above the clouds, Jamal couldn't shake the feeling that this flight might just be the start of something bigger. After all, a single spark could ignite change. But in the back of his mind, uncertainty lingered. Would this new energy bring understanding, or simply mask the misconceptions that were still simmering beneath the surface? As the airplane leveled out, Jamal glanced around, absorbing the moods and expressions in the cabin, ready for whatever would come next. Would they be able to move past the initial shadows of doubt? Or would they remain trapped in their own biases? Just then, a voice broke through the din of the cabin. A fellow passenger stood up, raising his hand to speak. What did he have to say? Jamal's heart raced, anticipation swelling within him as the moment stretched out, and he sensed that something profound was about to unfold. A man in a crisp business suit, slightly rumpled from the earlier chaos, stood up with a shaky hand gripping the seat in front of him. His brows were furrowed, and his eyes darted around the cabin as if searching for their approval. Jamal's heart thudded in his chest, he was aware that all eyes were on this man. "Excuse me, everyone," the man's voice wavered, catching the attention of everyone in the row. I couldn't help but listen to what just happened." He took a deep breath, his face reddening. "On one hand, I've got to admit I didn't react the way I should have. I've been there, feeling like I earned my spot in the front while others might just be taking up precious space." Jamal felt the man's shame seep into the air around them, thickening it in an unexpected way. Apology was a hard thing to swallow, Jamal could feel it vibrating through the cabin. "But this kid," the man pointed at Jamal with sincerity, "showed us something important today. It's not just about where you sit. It's about who you are as a person. And we're all human, right?" A ripple of agreement spread through the cabin, some passengers nodding, others whispering among themselves. Jamal felt his body relax slightly, the weight of tension lifting, just enough for him to breathe. "I'm sorry, young man," the businessman continued, looking directly at Jamal. "It's easy to let ignorance take over. Today, you've reminded me that we need to respect each other, and I failed to do that." The businessman's daughter beamed at Jamal, her earlier fierceness replaced with warmth. The dad was breaking down his walls, stripping away the armor he wore against vulnerability. Jamal could sense the collective release from the other passengers, a breathing in of new perspectives, of hope. His mother squeezed his shoulder, her face glowing with pride. "You see, honey. You opened hearts today, she whispered. Jamal didn't know whether to smile or feel uneasy. It was beyond him how a little push could break through those walls of bias. Did he truly create that change, or was it simply the right moment? His thoughts raced, then the flight attendant, now standing collectively with the passengers, nodded and said, "That's what kindness does. It challenges the loudest voices of doubt and silences them." The applause that erupted felt like an eruption of pent-up empathy. Jamal clapped along, the energy exploding around them, lifting his spirits. For the first time, he felt like he truly belonged in a world too often ruled by what appearances dictated, but as cheers filled the cabin, Jamal's eyes caught sight of the businessman, who seemed transformed, yet conflicted. There was still tension etched across his brow, regrets swirled beneath the surface like currents under water. "Let us not stop here," the businessman said finally, raising his voice above the applause. "What can we do next to make sure things like this don't happen again? How do we make this journey of understanding last?" Jamal felt the pulse of a question deeper than he imagined. Could a single moment of courage spark a movement? As he pondered that, the realization hit him like lightning. Could he, a young boy in a world often dominated by opposing forces, lead the way toward a bigger, more unified message? The idea was both thrilling and terrifying. As the applause slowly faded, Jamal's heart buzzed with excitement and fear. What next steps awaited them? What would it take to turn such powerful energy into real change? Jamal looked around the cabin, his heart racing with possibility. All eyes were on him, waiting, ready for the next move. What would he say? How could he elevate this moment into something transformative? And just like that, he felt the weight of opportunity pressing down on him, demanding a response that held the world or at least an airplane full of people in its balance. Would he rise to the occasion? Could he dare to voice the unthinkable? Jamal stood in the aisle, his mind racing. With every heartbeat, he sensed the weight of expectation hanging in the air. The applause had subsided, but the energy remained electric, a living thing that demanded to be fed. He took a deep breath, grounding himself in the moment, surrounded by strangers who had been moved by the very thing he had believed in, understanding. Thank you," Jamal finally managed to say, his voice trembling at first but growing stronger with each word. "I didn't mean to cause a scene. I just wanted to sit where they told me to." The passengers smiled gently, a warmth spreading through the cabin as faces softened. He glanced at the businessman, who nodded encouragingly, and then over to the little girl, her eyes sparkling with admiration. Jamal felt his heart swell, bolstered by the shared experience they had just witnessed. "What we just saw," he continued, feeling the fire within him grow, "is something we can carry outside of this plane. It's not just a moment of kindness we need. It's a movement." The tension in the air shifted, curiosity replacing hesitation. He could see other passengers leaning in, eager to hear what he had to say. "We're all different," Jamal stated, finding his footing. "But that doesn't mean we don't belong together. We should celebrate our differences, not fight about them." The words he spoke felt like a call to arms, a rally for compassion that he hadn't even planned. A murmur of agreement spread through the cabin, and Jamal could feel every nod, every supportive glance weaving into a tapestry of hope. He could sense that this moment had become about more than just him, it was about each person here and the potential they had to inspire change. The flight attendant chimed in, her voice warm and inviting. "How can we help support this idea? What can each of us do to stand up for others when it matters most?" Jamal's heart raced as the question echoed in his mind. Ideas began flooding in written letters to airlines, community events celebrating diversity, maybe even a school project that could reach kids who felt unheard. This could be the start of something. A passenger in the front raised a hand, his face aglow with excitement. "What if we all commit to treating others with kindness and create a pledge, right here and now?" Jamal's pulse quickened. A pledge. It sounded ambitious, and yet, something about the word ignited a spark in him. Could they really commit to such a promise? "I want to help," Jamal said, the confidence bursting forth. "If we can write it down and share it, maybe we can make a real difference. The businessman chimed in again, determination written all over his face. How about we start by sharing our experiences? Each of us has a story to tell. Let us empower one another. As the conversation unfolded, passengers began sharing their own moments of vulnerability, those times when kindness had touched their lives. Tears, laughter, and nods of recognition filled the air. Jamal felt a kinship growing, a web of connection stretching across the airplane. His cheeks flushed with warmth as he soaked it all in. But even amid the feeling of belonging, a small voice gnawed at the back of his mind. Was this just a moment? How could he ensure it lasted beyond this flight? Steeling himself, Jamal took a deep breath and looked around at the faces, many still glistening with emotion. If we share our stories, we can help each other understand. Let us make this a real movement, beyond these walls. The shared excitement set off a ripple of energy again, and Jamal felt exhilaration shoot through him. He sensed a possibility that was once only a dream. But as the conversation echoed around him, another question emerged. How could he ensure their efforts spread beyond this airplane? What changes might await them after they landed? Would this moment spark a fire in each of them, turning a flight into a force for the world? Jamal's heart beat faster as the proposals flew around the cabin. Each suggestion, each shared story, felt like a pebble tossed into a river, sending ripples of hope far beyond the confines of the airplane. He glanced at each face, their expressions a tapestry of surprise, joy, and connection. The airline's engine hummed steadily, providing a comforting backdrop as passengers leaned in closer, eagerly sharing their own experiences. An older man in a plaid shirt recounted a moment where he stepped in to help a young mother struggling with her twin toddlers. A woman with dyed blue hair spoke of a time her neighbor brought groceries when she was sick. Each tale revealed one simple truth: kindness had the power to break down walls. What if we take this pledge beyond today? Jamal suggested, his voice filled with fervor. What if we reached out to our communities afterwards? We could encourage schools, workplaces, even our own family gatherings to support this idea. He could see sparks of inspiration igniting in the faces around him. The businessman raised a hand again, this time more animated. Imagine a website. We could document our stories, share our pledges, even make it interactive. Maybe we can start by posting short videos about our kindness experiences. The thought took root as Jamal envisioned a platform where people shared their moments of human connection. A space where every act, big or small, was celebrated. His excitement was contagious, sending an electric pulse through the cabin. Conversations buzzed around him, filling the air with energy and possibility. As laughter and storytelling continued to flow, Jamal marveled at the unity forming among these once strangers. It felt powerful, like being part of something greater. But another nagging thought bubbled up: would they follow through on this burst of excitement once they disembarked? Just then, the little girl who had been shyly watching raised her tiny voice. Can we make a special handshake? Like something that reminds us to be nice to each other? Jamal's heart melted at her innocent suggestion. There was something about it that struck a chord. Handshakes were simple yet could hold so much meaning. What a brilliant idea! He exclaimed. Whenever we see someone doing something kind, we can give each other the handshake to remind ourselves. The idea caught every ear, and smiles grew wider. You mean like a kindness signal? The blue-haired woman piped up. Exactly. Jamal grinned. His mind raced ahead, envisioning how these small gestures could create a ripple effect. We could even come up with a slogan. Something catchy that rolls right off the tongue. Let us brainstorm together. Someone shouted, and the cabin erupted once again, excitement sparking off the overhead bins above them. Yet somewhere in the flurry of ideas, Jamal felt a pang of uncertainty. Would this enthusiasm last when faced with the complexities of real life and the barriers it presented? How could he ensure their collective voices wouldn't be stilled by routine or indifference? As suggestions whirred around him, a quiet thought lingered: were they ready to carry this moment into the world? Then something shifted. The flight attendant, having been listening intently, stepped forward. Her face shone with resolve. How about we write a letter to the airline once we land? A group letter that shares what we've experienced, urging them to create an initiative in line with what we've started here today. A chorus of confirmation swelled, enthusiasm reignited. Let us spread this beyond the cabin, let us make sure our stories echo beyond these walls. Jamal encouraged, his voice rising with passion. What if they could become more than just passengers? What if they could ignite a movement that transformed not only their lives but the lives of people around them? The anticipation hung thick in the air, and Jamal's heart raced at the thought of the unknown yet boundless possibilities lying ahead. What awaited them on the other side of this flight? Did they have the strength to hold on to their promise? What awaited them? When they landed? As the airplane began its descent, Jamal could feel the energy in the cabin surging, almost palpable in the air. Heads bent over notebooks, pens scribbling furiously, ideas flitting from one person to another like sparks in an open flame. People exchanged phone numbers, promising to connect and keep the spirit of today alive. He felt a swell of pride and joy in witnessing this collective creativity. Yet, alongside that joy lingered a thread of anxiety. He couldn't shake the reality that real life often intrudes on idealistic plans. What if this was just a moment, a beautiful moment, yes, but fleeting nonetheless? The little girl who sparked the handshake idea leaned against her mother, who smiled softly, clearly proud of her daughter's contributions. Jamal remembered his own childhood, how sharing kindness had felt so effortless back then. Had life's responsibilities dulled that instinct in adults? He vowed silently to keep it alive, for her sake, for his community, and for himself. With the runway coming into view, the chatter grew more subdued. Laughter was still there but tinged with a nervous anticipation of what awaited them on solid ground. Would anyone listen? Would the airline truly care? He had seen extraordinary moments turn into muffled whispers before a woman from the back stood, holding her phone triumphantly. People have already started sharing their stories on social media. Kindness between strangers. Look. She traipsed down the aisle, showing screens filled with posts from other passengers taking up the challenge. Buzz rippled through the cabin. Could this all be happening? Jamal felt tears prick at the corners of his eyes. The enthusiasm in the room felt contagious, electric. They were forging something new. Let us not only build this online, he suggested, raising his voice to reach the back of the plane. Let us also organize monthly events in our communities, where kindness is celebrated, not just shared in stories. Markets, schools, parks. Let's show people in every space. With each word, it felt like they were scaffolding a bridge between their hopeful hearts and the world beyond. This was no longer just an airplane full of passengers, it was the beginning of a movement. Excitement bubbled up, like the roar of applause. The flight attendant returned, her smile brighter than ever. I'm thrilled to hear all of this. Just know, I'm right behind you all. We'll be writing that letter to our corporate office together, and I will make sure it carries all the enthusiasm from this cabin. As the airplane touched down, Jamal felt the weight of determination settle in his chest. He caught sight of the little girl grinning up at him from her seat, a small spark of hope reflected in her eyes. They all had the potential to build something meaningful, to reclaim the narratives of their lives and create ripples in their communities, but just before they unfastened their seatbelts, a man in the front stood up. His face was stern, the tension in the air shifting. He pointed sharply to the group. What you're discussing sounds foolish and naive. The world doesn't change through hashtags or handshakes. It requires action. Can you genuinely commit to that? The question hung heavy, piercing through their hopeful bubble, forcing Jamal to face the heart of the matter. What if they were not ready? What if their dreams were trampled by the harshness of reality? With every heart racing in the cabin, Jamal took a deep breath. He knew this was more than just about them. It was about cultivating real change, the kind that transcends the space of an airplane and seeps into ordinary lives. Could they prove him wrong? As the wheels squeaked against the tarmac, a memory surged in Jamal's mind, a reminder of all the times he hesitated when courage was needed. This was their moment to rise. Would they seize it? The weight of the man's challenge pressed on everyone's shoulders as they prepped to depart. When the doors swung open, would they walk out as peers united in purpose or scatter back into the world as simply passengers once more? Jamal led the way, heart pounding, ready to find out. As Jamal stepped off the plane, the warm air hit his skin like a welcome embrace. He paused, taking a moment to absorb the energy of the bustling airport. He could see people rushing by, each absorbed in their own world of worries and responsibilities. But here, behind him, was a group of people who were shifting their own narratives. The little girl rushed past him, her mother following closely, both faces lit up with excitement. Jamal caught her eye and offered a smile. "Remember, every act of kindness counts," he called cheerfully. She nodded vigorously before disappearing into the crowd, her spirit already creating ripples that would extend far beyond this moment. Gathering the rest of the passengers felt vital to Jamal. He rounded up a few enthusiastic spirits, people who had shared the energy on the flight. "Let us find a quiet spot and talk," he suggested. They stumbled upon a small cafe tucked away from the chaos. Everyone seemed to have something on their mind. "Okay, what now?" someone asked, their voice a mix of eagerness and uncertainty. "Let us brainstorm ideas for our first community event," Jamal replied, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. "It can't just end here." Ideas flowed freely, bouncing between them like a game of catch. They discussed locations, themes, and how to invite the community into the fold. And yet, doubts lingered like shadows. Was anyone truly going to show up? Would the initial spark of inspiration hold once they returned to their routines, tangled in day-to-day life? Their table was packed with paper, sticky notes, and coffee cups that grew colder as time passed. Amid the chatter and laughter, Jamal kept checking his watch, feeling urgency mounting. They were creating something meaningful, yet the voices of those skeptical weighed heavily. "Do you really think action will follow?" asked a woman named Karen, her brow furrowed. "We're dreaming big, but how do we make it real?" Jamal probed deeper into her question, reflecting on their perceived naivety. "Every movement starts with a dream," he said, his voice steady. "But we need to pair that with commitment. We're here today, and we've already taken the first step. It's about staying connected." But as he spoke, the man's voice from the airplane echoed in his mind. Action. Was he underestimating the challenge? The tenacity of this group felt fragile, like a glass sculpture at the mercy of an invisible storm. Suddenly, the cafe door swung open, and the heavy footsteps of a suited man interrupted their conversation. His sharp gaze swept the room until it landed on Jamal and his newfound companions. The tension in the air thickened, and everyone turned to see what would unfold. "Excuse me," the man said, his tone clipped. "I couldn't help but overhear. You're not actually considering organizing a kindness event here, are you?" "Who will care about that?" Jamal stood taller, resistance brewing within him. "We care," he responded firmly, holding the man's gaze. "Change starts with individuals willing to take that first step. That's our commitment." The man's face hardened, a brief flash of doubt flickering over his features. Jamal felt the weight of anticipation, a moment so pivotal he could almost taste it. What if he had the power to turn that doubt around? What if this conversation could pivot into something greater? As they stared at each other, Jamal's heart raced. Was this man simply a barrier, or could he be convinced to join their cause? The cafe seemed to be holding its breath, waiting for a response. Would Jamal have enough to convince him to join their dream? Would this be another obstacle or an opportunity? "Let us find out," he said quietly to himself, preparing for a challenge that could either break or strengthen their resolve. The man's piercing eyes narrowed, and Jamal could sense the weight of every gaze in the cafe turning toward them. It felt like a spotlight shining down on a stage. He could almost hear the collective heartbeat of the crowd harmonizing in anxious anticipation. "What's your name?" the man asked, his tone sharper than before. Jamal hesitated, caught off guard by the question. It was as if an invisible line had been drawn. "Jamal," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper but gaining strength. "And you?" "Evan. This kindness agenda you're pushing, what are you hoping to achieve? What's the point?" Evan's voice now held a hint of challenge, daring Jamal to back down. In that moment, doubts crept in from the corners of Jamal's mind. Would he even be able to articulate the fire that burned deep within him? Yet, inspiration surged as he recounted the little girl's smile, how it had sparked something unexplainable. "I believe kindness builds community," he began, gaining momentum. "It creates connections we often overlook. It reminds us that we're not alone in this journey." Evan crossed his arms, skepticism etched on his face. "And you think a few nice gestures will change the world?" "It's a start," Jamal exclaimed, his heart pounding. "What if we could inspire one person? Just imagine if the little girl I saw felt encouraged to help even one more person. That's a ripple effect. It's about starting a movement, one small act at a time." A tense silence enveloped the cafe. Jamal could see his companions shifting in their seats, a mixture of hope and uncertainty reflecting on their faces. Then, slowly, he noticed Evan's expression softening. The harshness began to fade, replaced by curiosity. "People can surprise you," a voice chimed in from the back. It was Karen, who had been quietly listening but now leaned forward in her seat. "We're seeing that right now, aren't we? That every interaction matters, even in here." The atmosphere in the cafe began to shift. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Jamal felt the room change. It was no longer just a cafe but a space filled with possibility. Evan's eyes darted around the room, as if he stumbled upon something initially overlooked. "Maybe," he started, uncertainty lingering in his voice. "Maybe there's merit in what you're all talking about." "Exactly," Jamal affirmed, emboldened. "Imagine how many lives we could touch by sharing support and kindness. It's about creating a web of compassion and trust in our community. We need that now more than ever." Evan uncrossed his arms, contemplating. For the first time, Jamal saw a flicker of something else awakening. "All right, then, if you manage to draw even a small crowd, I might just be on board," he half joked, a challenge dancing in his tone. The group erupted in laughter, breaking the tension, and suddenly it didn't feel so daunting anymore. "Deal." Jamal responded energetically, the gears of change now churning faster than he had anticipated. He felt the spark ignite in the room, hopes intertwining as excitement surged through the air. But as they shifted their focus back to brainstorming, a nagging thought lingered. What if it wasn't just about organizing an event, but rather a moment that could unite a community? Could they truly bridge the gap within their diverse patchwork of lives? That question hung heavily, waiting to be answered. "Let's start with the basics first," Jamal proposed, his voice steadied by newfound resolve. "We need a date, a location, a theme. Let's plant the seed and water it together." As ideas flew yet again and enthusiasm buzzed, Jamal couldn't shake the question buried deep within him. Could this be the beginning of something bigger than any of them could imagine? He looked at the gathered friends, each face lit by hope, and realized that they were on the edge of something extraordinary. Would they be brave enough to take that leap, to transform their intentions into reality? The group's laughter and chatter faded into the background as Jamal plunged headfirst into his thoughts, buoyed by a sense of urgency. Their journey was only beginning, but just how far would it take them? The ideas floated around the room, a whirlwind of passion and energy. Jamal felt invigorated as plan after plan was shouted out, each more ambitious than the last. Together, they were sketching a vision that went beyond just an event. It felt like laying the foundation for something monumental. "What about the park downtown?" Karen suggested, her enthusiasm infectious. "It's spacious and public, perfect for inviting people in," she added, her eyes sparkling. "Great idea." Jamal nodded, writing it down. "That gives us space to expand." We can have food trucks, live music, maybe even art from local artists. Evan leaned in, a hint of excitement breaking through his previously guarded demeanor. What if we included stories? You know, people sharing their random acts of kindness or the moments they felt a shift in their community. Real-life examples can show how powerful these connections can be. Yes. Karen beamed. It's relatable. It draws people in, and it's way more than just a feel-good event. It's about real impact. That's the spirit. Jamal said as his heart raced. The thread of ideas they wove together felt tangible, like a tapestry knitted from their shared hopes, but somewhere in the back of his mind, doubt whispered. Everyone seemed to agree, and yet, would they truly connect with the community as he imagined? Would people really show up? All right, let's set a date, he called, trying to keep the momentum going. We can meet again next week to firm everything up, but I want us to walk away with a timeline today. As the group debated possible dates, Jamal felt hope swell within him. He encouraged their chatter, his spirit buoyed like a ship riding the waves. He could see at the realization that they weren't just organizing a day, but touching lives, fostering connection. Let's aim for a Saturday next month, Evan suggested, scanning the room for agreement. The clock was ticking, and Jamal felt the urgency sharpen. Yes. A month gives us enough time to make this happen and build excitement, Jamal replied, a grin spreading across his face. Suddenly, the hustle of the cafe felt right. It was buzzing with shared enthusiasm and determination. Let's not forget about promoting it. Karen emphasized. Social media, flyers, even local radio stations. The urgency flooded back as they started strategizing about spreading the word, generating heat around their gathering. Ideas flowed effortlessly until Evan raised an eyebrow and chuckled. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I might be starting to believe in your crazy kindness agenda. The group erupted into laughter again, releasing the tension that had lingered ever since that moment at the cafe began. Jamal felt the cornerstone of this movement solidify in his chest, but just as the excitement reached a crescendo, a loud clang broke the rhythm. A table had fallen over near the entrance, startling everyone. Jamal's heart dropped as he turned to see a group of young kids no more than 10 tripping over one another as they exited the cafe, causing a cacophony of chaos. When the dust settled, one boy stood apart, visibly upset. His face, a mixture of hurt and anger, echoed Jamal's fears. Would the kindness agenda really reach people who felt so disconnected? Could they mend that unseen fracture in their community? Hey, everything okay? Jamal called, stepping toward the boy, sensing the moment's weight. The crowd quieted, curiosity mixed with concern. All eyes shifted toward him, the air thick with tension. As he approached, the boy looked up, his eyes wide with vulnerability. I just wanted to be someone. The weight of that single phrase hung like a heavy curtain, silencing the room further, filling it with potential and fear all at once. What if they could help him be someone? Jamal's heart raced, the question echoing within him as new possibilities unfurled beyond the tangible plans they had crafted. Could they truly create a movement that shattered barriers and connected them all? What if he started, every soul gathered holding its breath, waiting for what would come next? What if we all shared our stories and learned to rise up together? In the wake of Jamal's powerful question, the cafe held its breath, every eye focused on the young boy who seemed to carry the weight of the world on his fragile shoulders. Jamal crouched down to meet him at eye level, warmth radiating from his heart. You can be someone, he said softly. We all can. We just have to believe in each other. The boy blinked, his anger dissolving into confusion. But nobody cares, he murmured, his voice a whisper above the fading chatter. Jamal shook his head, fiercely. That's where you're wrong. We care. Look around, you're not alone. He gestured to the diverse faces in the cafe, all drawn to this moment. We want to show you that kindness matters. It can change everything. The boy's expression shifted from sadness to uneasiness as Jamal continued. You see, kindness isn't just a word, it's a choice we make every day. We can uplift each other, no matter how small. Just like how you gathered your courage to share your feelings now. There was silence for a heartbeat, then someone from the crowd spoke up. Kid, you've got a lot of power in you, a woman with kind eyes said. Don't ever think you're less than anybody else. Jamal's heart swelled as he sensed a shift, a wave of solidarity building in the room. The boy's lip quivered, and for a moment, he seemed to consider the possibilities. Let us help him be someone together, Jamal proposed, feeling the energy surge within him. We're forming a community, and we need all voices to join in. How about it? He turned to the boy, filling him with hope. Will you be a part of this? All eyes rallied behind the boy, their expressions softening with encouragement. Slowly, almost hesitantly, the boy nodded. A small but radiant smile broke over his face, and Jamal bounced off that shared moment of connection with renewed fervor. Then a ripple of agreement flowed through the cafe, alive with excitement. People began exchanging stories of kindness that had changed their lives, the proud moments, the challenges they faced, shared lessons that echoed Jamal's experience with the flight. The fear began to ebb, replaced by a collective understanding. I want to help others feel they belong, Jamal confessed, his voice steady and loud. We can extend this kindness agenda into our communities. It's about more than one day, it's about crafting a life of compassion together. Applause erupted in the cafe, laughter bounced off the walls like a joyous melody, and those who had once been strangers now came together, united in this revelation. Jamal felt tears pricking his eyes, not from sadness but joy at seeing hearts open wide and spirits soar. They agreed to form an ongoing support group dedicated to kindness. Plans unfolded like a flower bloom, gatherings were set to launch once a month, moments of outreach aimed at uniting the community. Ideas spilled forth, story sessions at local schools, workshops designed to foster empathy, a blog to share experiences, even an event dedicated to celebrating acts of kindness in their neighborhoods. As the buzz continued, Jamal found Evan beside him, a smile breaking through his stoic demeanor. You know, I didn't expect to enjoy this as much as I am, he admitted. But you're right, we need this. Together, we can do anything, Jamal replied, feeling a rush of hope surge through him, affirming a newfound camaraderie. The momentum carried them through the afternoon, voices echoing with laughter and promising plans. Finally, as they gathered to leave, the boy who had spoken up earlier approached Jamal again, a look of determination on his face. I want to help lead. I want to help others too. Jamal's heart soared. Of course. We need you. Your voice matters. And with that promise, Jamal could see the vision for the kindness movement take root and flourish. The smiles in the cafe weren't just fleeting, they had become a collective burst of light. As they spilled out into the warm afternoon sun, laughter trailing behind them, Jamal realized that they did not just leave a cafe, they carried with them the power of connection, the strength to transform the world one act of kindness at a time. Uplifted by the shared experience, Jamal's message flickered in his mind, igniting a passion for perseverance. He took a mental snapshot of this moment, knowing they had sparked something big, a movement where every smile, gesture, and story mattered, and in that bustling cafe, a group of unconventional allies came together, all in the name of kindness, ready to show the world that change begins with one courageous heart willing to speak up. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help this message reach those who need it most. Comment your reactions and feelings about this heartwarming ending. Your voices matter. Share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to witness this inspiring transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. True fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.